to this now. Tributes continue to pour in for the late struggle stalwart Essop Pahad. The former minister in the presidency passed away yesterday, aged 84. We're joined by ANC veteran Reverend Frank Chikane to tell us more about the life and times of the anti-apartheid activist. Thank you very much, Reverend, for speaking to us this evening. So we have seen in the past few days moving tributes to Pahad. What do you make of his legacy and his contributions to our democracy?
Well, let me express condolences to the family because I think it's a great loss for them, but a great loss for the liberation movement and a great loss for the country. I need to say that, I've known Comrade Essop Pahad for many years. When I started traveling after being appointed General Secretary of the Council of Churches, I was able to travel internationally, and I met him in London together with his brother Aziz Pahad and with Mbeki, Thabo Mbeki in London, and we used to interact. And when they returned back home, as you know, he participated in the process of the negotiations, particularly when we began to work on the constitution of this country. He played an important role in Parliament to produce the constitution that we have. I also worked with him in the presidency as an advisor to Deputy President Mbeki at that time, and then as a minister in the office of the president. And I must say that, his experience, knowledge was extraordinary. He's been involved in the struggle since the late 50s. And so was like a walking dictionary about what happened during the exile period when they came back, and understood the policies of the African National Congress and what the governing party needed to do. And we had valuable discussions and debates. He then became responsible for GCIS, that is the communication arm of the state at that time. And he contributed a lot in communicating what the government was doing and what we're intending to do. I also must say, the first 10 to 15 years of the government, the African National Party government, African National Congress government, was extraordinary. We transformed the state, we transformed the public service, we created new provinces, new municipalities. It was a huge task, and Essop Pahad was part of that process, and we need to express our condolences to the family and say rest in peace, our comrade Essop Pahad.
So Essop Pahad has been remembered for his selfless service to our country, but also for his sharp tongue that could lash out when provoked. And that is, of course, a necessary trait for anyone fighting for justice. Yeah. And it's one shared by a number of ANC stalwarts. I remember when Jessie Duarte passed away, similar tributes were paid to her as well for her ability to put people in their place very eloquently. Did you ever experience that from Essop Pahad?
No, I just managed him. That was not difficult to manage. I knew him very well. I knew the style of his communication, the language he was using, and we were able to work well. I was the Director General in the President's office, and he was a minister there. And we worked as a team. We had about five members of the National Executive Committee of the ANC. And so indeed, he had a rough way of communicating, and he used to use, tried the African languages and saying, hey, where now, or this and the other. But if you knew him, he doesn't mean to disparage you, but he was saying it out of a comradely view and feeling, and were able to deal with that. Only people who didn't know him well would have tried to have taken that as negative.
Thank you very much for sharing some of your memories with us of Essop Pahad. Anti-apartheid veteran Reverend Frank Chikane speaking to us there.